I saw the ad on a community board near my college. Evening babysitter needed. Quiet house, 1 child, good pay. It was from a couple named Darren, Mr. and Mrs. Darren. I was juggling coursework, broke, and completely drained from my part-time job. When Mrs. Darren emailed me, I called her right away. She was polite, but clearly in a hurry. Our daughter Eliza is 6. She's independent, usually asleep by 8, she said. Tonight's a little last minute, but if you're available, we'd really appreciate it. I told her I thought we were just doing a meet and greet, you know, so we can get to know each other and Eliza before I actually watch her. There was a pause. We weren't expecting to need you tonight, she said, but something's come up. We'll be there when you arrive, I promise. We'll walk you through everything. Against my better judgment, I said yes. I was barely making rent, and a few hours of babysitting sounded better than another night eating ramen and studying alone in my apartment. The Darren's house was at the edge of town, tucked behind tall trees and barely visible from the main road. 2 stories, red brick, with tall, narrow windows and ivy crawling up the corners like long fingers. Mrs. Darren opened the front door before I could knock. Red lipstick, buttoned-up coat, heels. She looked like someone who never got messy. Mr. Darren hovered behind her in a dark jacket, one hand on the doorknob like he was already halfway out. "Thank you so much for coming," she said, gesturing me in. "We're already running late." She handed me a printed list of emergency numbers and pointed to a landline on the hallway table. "We'll be at a dinner and then stopping by my mother's place. Should be back around 12:30, maybe 1. Mr. Darren checked his watch, impatient. "Eliza's upstairs," he muttered. "Room at the end of the hall." Then Mrs. Darren added, like it was an afterthought, "By the way, there's a room across the hall from Eliza's. It's locked. Just ignore it." I paused. "Is there something I should know about it?" She gave a tight smile. "Just storage. Nothing to worry about." They didn't wait for a response. Within seconds, before I could say anything else, they slipped out the door and into their car. No hug for Eliza, no last-minute instructions. Just gone. I watched the taillights vanish between the trees and realized I hadn't even officially met Eliza yet. The house was quiet, clean, but strange, like it had been redecorated in layers. Floral curtains, modern appliances, then antique furniture shoved into corners like afterthoughts. A row of old sconces lined the staircase, the kind with frosted glass shades that dimmed everything instead of lighting it. Eliza's room was upstairs at the end of the hall. I knocked gently before pushing the door open. She was sitting up in bed, stuffed rabbit plush in her lap, eyes wide but calm. "Hey," I said gently. "I'm Jess. Your parents had to step out, so I'm hanging out with you tonight." She didn't answer, but she didn't look scared either, just watchful. She clutched the worn rabbit tighter. I sat with her for a few minutes, read a page from a picture book I found on the nightstand, and turned on her sound machine. After a few minutes of silence, she lay back down and let her eyes close. Across the hall was the locked door. It didn't match the rest of the interior. Plain, painted white with a scuffed brass knob. No molding, no charm, just a door. I left it alone. Downstairs, I set my laptop on the coffee table, turned on the TV, and cracked open one of my psych textbooks. I had barely started reading when I heard it. A thump from directly above the living room. The locked room. Not loud, but specific. Deliberate. I muted the TV, waited. Nothing. I crept upstairs, flashlight on my phone glowing faintly. The sconces buzzed. Had they always done that? Eliza's door was cracked, just as I left it. She was asleep, rabbit tucked beside her, breathing slow and even. I glanced at the locked door. It was still shut. I didn't think the sound had come from there. It sounded more like maybe the attic, maybe something fell. a box sliding across the floor. I went back downstairs, telling myself it was nothing, just the house settling. I texted my friend Danny. "This house is creeping me out. I just heard something above me. Kid's asleep, but still." She replied jokingly, "If the kid starts levitating, burn the house down." Classic Danny. I tried to focus on my notes, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something had changed upstairs. Then it happened again. Another thump, followed by a long, low scrape, like something heavy being dragged across the floorboards. I stood, phone in one hand, mouth dry, heart pounding. That wasn't settling wood. It was movement. I climbed the stairs again. The hallway was colder now. Not just chilly, wrong. Like walking into a freezer with no hum. Eliza's room, fine. Still, the locked door, now cracked open an inch. I stood there, frozen. Breath caught in my throat. I knew that door had been locked. Mrs. Darren made a point of it. I stepped closer. The door creaked open just a little more. The air got colder. I peeked inside. Nothing but darkness. I raised my phone flashlight and looked in. Bare floor, an old dresser, a rocking chair in the corner. Empty. Then the chair rocked. Just once. Then a voice from the dark. "She's not supposed to leave." I backed away fast. Almost tripped on the rug in the hall. Then another noise. Behind me. From Eliza's room. I ran in. She was sitting up again, but now she looked terrified. Her blanket was pulled tight around her shoulders, and her eyes were locked on the hallway behind me. She flinched when she saw me. I forgot. She'd never really met me before. "It's okay," I whispered. "It's Jess. I've got you." I picked her up, rabbit and all, and sprinted down the stairs. I didn't stop until we were outside, standing in the cold under the porch light. I didn't have my purse. Didn't care. We sat on the front steps, huddled together. I rocked her gently while I waited for the courage to call someone. No cars came. No sign of the Darrens. I called them. No answer. I left a voicemail. I stood at the end of the driveway, barefoot, heart hammering. I called 3 more times over the course of an hour. After the first, all the rest went straight to voicemail. Finally, a call came through, from a different number. Mrs. Darren had listened to my voicemail. She said calmly, "We'll be back shortly," then disconnected. They pulled in about 15 minutes later. I told her the door had been open, that I heard a voice, that I didn't feel safe leaving Eliza there. There was a pause. Then, "We'll take it from here." She gave me an envelope with my pay and walked into the house. That was it. Mr. Darren opened the door. No questions, no thanks. Just reached out and took his daughter, who didn't even look at him. I turned to go, but something made me glance back at the house. The second-floor window, the one across the hall from Eliza's room. A shadow moved behind it. I drove from there as fast as my car could take me. I could barely sleep that night. The next day, I was still feeling uneasy. I decided to learn more about the Darrens. Just a basic Google search. I wasn't sure what I was looking for, but I found it. The very first result, an article from the local paper. Family of 3 perishes in late-night blaze. Couple and 6-year-old child. The house had burned down 5 years ago. Photos of the structure, gutted by fire, and a news clipping. I read the date again. It wasn't a typo. It was years ago. It was the same family, same woman, same little girl. And yet I had stood in that house, spoken to that woman, watched that child fall asleep, or thought I had. I drove back to the house in the daytime. The mailbox was stuffed full. No cars in the driveway. I walked by slowly, pretending to be on my phone. I could see the locked bedroom from the street, that same second-floor window. The door inside was wide open, and someone was standing in the doorway, not facing in, towards the hallway, across from Eliza's room, like they were waiting for someone to come back. So now I keep asking myself, whose house did I go to? And how could I have watched Eliza if everyone was already dead?